Excuse me. Move some of that over. Apologize. We're going to go ahead and start with a Pledge of Allegiance. We're going to call the meeting of the Bloomington City Council to order. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And if we could have a moment of silence. Thank you. Thank you very much. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Councilmember Mathis,
Here.
Councilmember Bolin,
Here.
Councilmember Milawambwe,
Here.
Councilmember Emig,
Here.
Councilmember Painter,
Here.
Councilmember Carrillo,
Here.
Councilmember Black,
Here.
Councilmember Crable,
Here.
Councilmember Bray,
Here.
Mayor Renner.
Here, thank you very much. We are all in attendance. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. At this point, we're going to go ahead and turn this over to Mr. Gleason for a COVID update. Tim.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. I've got a couple of items that fall under a COVID update. You know, with the trends sort of upticking over the past couple of weeks, if it's possible, we're keeping an even closer eye on finances and trying to project trends and see where we are as a city financially. Another area that I wanted to share, it's actually a consent item tonight, but the O'Neill Pool demo, and I think it falls under COVID, where we seized an opportunity and advanced the idea of demoing O'Neill Pool. It comes before council tonight as a consent agenda, but it actually came in $85,000 less than what was projected. So that's another COVID opportunity. Another one that I wanted to share with council and the community, and this was coming anyway at some point in the future, but COVID's not stopped us in this area either. Standing up in the very near future, a customer service hub. This is something that's going to be done at the arena. It can be done in person or virtually, and will eventually find its way to the Parks location that's currently held by Parks over at the Government Center. That'll eventually be the clerk's office. The departments that are going to be at the customer service hub, city clerk, community development department, finance department, legal department, Parks and Recreation Department, and Public Works. There's going to be cross training that's completed, and it's going to help the city more efficient, one-stop shop. Resident shows up and they're able to at least get the initial questions answered, and we thought, why wait? So this is another COVID opportunity. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you very much. We move right along to the recognitions and appointments, just to recognize the appointment of Cheryl Magnuson to the Bloomington Normal Conventions Visitors Bureau Board. And we certainly look forward to her contribution. She's certainly been involved in so many different things in our community. At this point, let's move on to public comment. Madam Clerk, do we have any public comment of people who are waiting to speak to us?
We do, Mayor. We have 6 people who have registered. And let's see if we could begin with David Fetter, then Jacqueline Byer, and then Brad Bell. And I'll give you the next 3 names in a few minutes. So David Fetter.
Dave Fetter? Dave, can you hear us? Dave?
Let's see.
Dave?
I think I'm unmuted now. Thank you.
Oh, there you are. Okay, cool. Thanks. Go ahead. You got up to 3 minutes.
I'll be very brief, Terry. First of all, I'd like to say we're very happy to be able to do another addition to a subdivision in Fox Creek Village. This hasn't happened for our company in 12 years. So this is a good thing that we see going forward, and hopefully we'll be able to do some other additions shortly. one thing that I wanted to speak to with regards to the Planning Commission recommendation, they did recommend that we do sidewalks on both sides of the street. Just to give you a little history, there has been no requirement by code for sidewalks on private streets at all. However, in 2013, we did follow a recommendation by the city to start to add sidewalks to one side of the street in Fox Creek Village, which is a private street subdivision. However, and we have continued to do that, and we are continuing to do that in this phase. However, the addition of a second sidewalk really will not connect to anything. It basically a sidewalk to nowhere. So I guess our request is that we continue on with the original agreement that we set forth with the city in 2013, that we continue to do sidewalks on one side of the street throughout the subdivision, all connected. The residents did express to me that they actually would prefer not to have them on both sides of the street, because when this goes forward, the residents, of course, are completely responsible for the sidewalks, unlike a lot of Bloomington streets where it's a public street where the city takes care of them. These are actually have to be taken care of and maintained by the residents. So I just wanted to put that forward and hope that you will consider that.
Thank you very much. Madam Clerk, next.
Next up, we have Jacqueline Byer. Jacqueline, are you there?
Oh, thank you.
And if she can hear us.
Jacqueline, can you hear us?
Yeah, Jacqueline, you are on mute if you're speaking.
Jacqueline, we need you to unmute if you can hear us.
Oh, there she goes.
Jacqueline? Hello? Jacqueline?
Mayor, if you'd like, we could jump ahead.
Let's go ahead and then see if we can get Jacqueline back. Go ahead.
Sounds great. Let's go ahead with Brad Bell.
Brad?
We're just having great luck
Hello?
tonight. There we go.
Brad.
Hi, Brad.
Okay. Hey, how's it going?
Okay, thanks. You have up to 3 minutes, Brad.
I've never once been late on.
Wait, sorry. Hold on.
Hello, my name is Brad Bell and I'm a resident of Ward 4. I've lived at my current residence for 5 years, and during that time I've struggled to hold my landlord accountable to the law, and I have faced escalating retaliation by him and complicity by the city. I've never once been late on rent or had any other complaints. My landlord, Mark Rudisil, ignored my pleadings about the temperature routinely being in the 50s during winter despite covering heat in the lease, not addressing damage and mold from frequent floods, and a host of other violations. Beginning last year, I contacted city code enforcement about these issues. On my first complaint, they inspected but ignored 90% of the issues that I brought up. The heat was not addressed. My landlord retaliated by shouting at me in my living room and intimidating my roommate into leaving, then denying a new roommate for no reason the day before he was set to move in. When it got cold again in November, I called code enforcement, who this time did make him act, although they again ignored the majority of issues, and the landlord did not adequately fix the problem of heat. In response to this complaint, several days later, my landlord let himself into my apartment on a Sunday morning when I was asleep to shout at me in front of witnesses and raise my rent in response to my complaints. In my ensuing talks with code enforcement over email, I documented many ongoing issues, and they were ignored. At this point, I filed FOIA request and confirmed that, in fact, the inspector David Silver in the first complaint and subsequently John Lang-Willis, who took over the case on the second, did not overline the large majority of issues that I raised. In February, I filed my third complaint to code enforcement, this time stating that I knew they were ignoring my complaints and I would be videoing this inspection so that they could no longer claim ignorance. At this time, they filed 6 actions, including the heat again. In response, 3 days later, my landlord sent me a notice of termination of tenancy. I'm set to be evicted when the state moratorium ends, currently on the 22nd of this month. In addition to the retaliation I have already described, my landlord has aggressively entered without notice on many occasions and severely inflamed my PTSD. He has insulted me, he has accused me of faking violations, left supplies and chemicals in my unit and refused to collect them. When forced to paint, he shut my windows to fume my cat till I got home, and he has entered aggressively and rearranged my furniture after a heart surgery when I could not physically move it back, and more. Even today, I caught him stalking outside my windows. Since I have nothing left to lose and I have lost fear of his retaliation, I am making this matter public, and I have brought up the dozens of remaining violations to code enforcement, who has now blatantly admitted refusal to act on them. I replied and included City Council on that email earlier today. Here I sit in unaddressed mold, radon, bugs, and heat. It has taken me hundreds of hours of talking with lawyers and doing research and risking my own health and money and stress to learn how to fight to hold this man accountable to basic standards of decency because the city has only fought me instead of helped me. I am sure that the vast majority of people in such a situation simply acquiesce. This is your city, turning a blind eye to abuse and actively gaslighting its residents when they attempt to assert their rights. Bob Mark should be fired and stripped of his pension. David Silver should be fired. John Lang Willis should be fired. A lot of them should be charged with official misconduct type 1A for intentional or reckless failure to perform any mandatory duty as required by law. Whether they are taking bribes or playing favorites or are simply incompetent, their failure is criminally irresponsible. Mark Rudisill is an abusive slumlord who ought to have his ability to rent property taken away. Thank you and have a good day.
Thank you. Next, Madam Clerk.
All right, if we could go back to Jacqueline Byer. Are you there?
Jacqueline, can you hear us? Jacqueline?
Hi, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you. I just want to say good evening and thank you for the opportunity to comment at this meeting. I would like to express my support for the men and women in uniform who tirelessly work to serve our community. After watching the Public Safety Community Review Board meeting, I am appreciative of the work they do to bridge the relationship between the Bloomington Police Department and the West Side. However, there were comments made about their involvement in community police reform that concerned me. The PSCRB is not representative of the entire Bloomington community and should not be included in decisions regarding policing of our community. Their purpose should remain solely as a bridge between the crime-challenged areas and the BPD. Regarding police reform, I request that every council member reach out to each citizen of their ward and gather feedback regarding policing of Bloomington, and then represent the voices of their ward. I would also like to push for ordinances and laws that make bias-motivated intimidation of first responders a crime. I believe with all my heart that all Black lives matter, but I also believe that we should be supporting our first responders with additional training, education, and social services, not taking it away. We need to be able to recruit the best of the best for our community. We need to be able to call 911, have someone pick up the phone, and then receive a quick response. Thank you for listening.
Thank you very much. Madam Clerk.
All right, next up we have Andrew Traeger.
Andrew? Andrew, hello?
Yeah, Andrew, if you're speaking, you're on mute.
Andrew, we can't hear you.
Looks
Can you
like
hear me
got
now?
it.
Yes.
Okay, I apologize. Hey guys, my name is Andrew Traeger. The reason for my phone call is later on in the meeting this evening. We're on the schedule. My wife and I are trying to build a house on the family farm behind my current mother and father's residence. The reason we're doing that is to help take care of the farm as they become older in age. We are within 1.5 miles of the city limits, which is why we're with the board or on this phone call this evening. We passed the county inspection or the county board last week, and now it's going before you guys for the city. So that is why I'm on the phone call this evening to help answer any questions if later on there are any. And I appreciate you guys being willing to let us be on this phone call.
Thank you very much. Madam Clerk.
Sorry, I was on mute also. Next up and last, we have Catherine Pratt.
Catherine, are you there? Catherine?
Catherine, if you're speaking, you are on mute.
Catherine, can you hear us? We need you to unmute yourself. Catherine? Hello? Catherine? Catherine, can you hear us? We can't hear you. You need to unmute yourself, Catherine. Okay, do we have any?
It looks like
now?
Oh, we can hear you, Catherine. You're good to go.
Thank you very much. I'm sorry, I'm only here on the call because I have been working with Mr. Traeger in connection with consent agenda item 8L. And so I'm just here to answer any questions if there are any.
Well, thank you, Catherine. I just want, please don't misunderstand us. It's just our general policy is that we do listen to citizens at public comment, but that we don't respond to individuals or ask questions during public comment. So please don't take that as a slap in any way, okay?
Oh, I won't. Thank you.
Thanks, Catherine. Appreciate that. Madam Clerk, is that it?
That is everyone that we had that registered to speak live. And then if I could just read the list of emailed public comment that we received. We received 4. Those were from Jeff Gastel, Misty Metros, Jacqueline Beyer, and Lori Bergner.
Great. Thank you so much. At this point, we're going to go ahead and move on, to our consent agenda. Are there any items that any member of the council would like to have removed from the consent agenda? Okay, seeing none, do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented by somebody? I'm looking at Donna Boland, so.
I will make that motion as accepted.
Okay, you just happen to be right there. Is there a second? Oh, I see second by Jamie Matthew. He's got a peace sign, or unless he's trying to pretend to be Nixon. At this point, we have a motion and a second. Madam Clerk, could you please call the roll?
Councilmember Matthew.
Yes.
Councilmember Boland.
Yes.
Councilmember Milawambwe.
Yes.
Councilmember Emig.
Yes.
Councilmember Painter.
Yes.
Councilmember Carrillo.
Yes.
Councilmember Black.
Yes.
Councilmember Crable.
Yes.
Councilmember Bray.
Yes.
Thank you so much. We appreciate that. Motion carried. No nays to announce, Madam Clerk. We move next to our regular agenda, and we have items A and B that are related, but we do need to consider them separately. And we're going to start with item 9A. And we have a presentation by Katie Simpson, our city planner, and a brief council discussion. I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Mr. Gleason. Do you have any preparatory remarks, Mr. Gleason?
Very few, Mayor. Katie's got about a 4 or 5 slide presentation. And then item B is the actual action item. We have Bob Yale standing in for Public Works and Melissa Hahn for Economic and Community Development.
Okay.
Katie?
Katie, thank you.
Thank you. Craig or Phil, can you pull up my slides, or would you like me to share those? Awesome. All right, next slide, please. So this is just a brief summary. Most of this information was in your council packets. We'll run through these very quickly, but I was going to cover a little bit of background about the Planning Commission meeting and the proposed development. So Fox Creek subdivision is located on Bloomington's southwest side, just west of the Nestle, the Ferrero factory, and Interstate 55 and 74. It started being developed around 1993, the initial subdivision, which includes the Fox Creek Golf Course. The proposed development is a continuation of Fox Creek Village, which is a 26-acre planned unit development, kind of planned community. The developer's asking for a reinstatement of the preliminary development plan that was originally approved in 2003 and then amended in 2013. These plans are good for 3 years. If there is no action taken, they expire and they have to be reinstated following a public hearing with the Planning Commission. Next slide, please. This is a zoning map. It's zoned R2. The district allows up to 12 units per acre. The proposed development is mostly single family homes and has a density of around 4 or 5 units per acre. Next slide, please. Just kind of another area. As I said, it's a continuation of a previously developed project. There's about 8 acres that remain undeveloped, and the developer is wanting to move forward with 15 lots, which are considered in item B on your agenda tonight. But before moving forward with any subdividing, council needs to approve a preliminary planned unit development concept plan, which is item A. Next slide, please. And just kind of show you what was presented to the Planning Commission. On the left is a copy of the preliminary plan development, and on the right of your screen is the area that would be developed in the 5th edition, which is item B. So the Planning Commission held a meeting on the 22nd. The recommendation from the commission was to approve the development as it was presented with one condition, and that condition was to add additional sidewalk for the remaining phases of the development. So when this area was developed in 2003, there was no sidewalk. In 2013, the plan was amended to include sidewalk on one side. And then that sidewalk is on the plan in front of you in kind of the dark, it's where the dark lines are along the streets and kind of circling around. I don't think you can see my mouse moving, but I am moving it on my screen to show you. The Planning Commission recommended that in addition to sidewalk on one side, that sidewalk is added on the other side of the street. And that recommendation was passed 4-2 and is up for your consideration tonight. I can answer any questions you might have.
Question to Katie. Okay, I can't. Oh, here we go. Questions to Katie? Any questions here? Whoa. Councilmember Matthew.
Thank you, Mayor. I actually got a couple of questions over the weekend. Katie, could you go into or give us a high level of the difference between, kind of this concept of private streets and private sidewalks versus what we're used to as, public streets and public sidewalks, and how that works in terms of future upkeep and maintenance?
Sure. In this particular instance, the planned unit development route differs from our traditional subdivisions because it allows developers to incorporate different design elements into their project. So in this case, the streets of Fox Creek Village are private streets. Those are maintained by the homeowners association. And since they are private, they do not have to be built to the same standard as public streets. So they're not required to be as wide. The developer is not required to have any sidewalk. And they are maintained by the homeowners association in the future. We do have some developments where there's public streets, in which case they would need to be a little bit wider. They would have to have sidewalk on both sides. The sidewalk has to be a certain width and a certain thickness. But then the city maintains that infrastructure. So part of the give and take with the plan unit development is maybe the city allows for a deviation or a variance in one way and then gets an overall concept that's unique or a little bit different for the area.
Does that mean, though, that this development could never be quote unquote incorporated into the city, and these streets would never become city streets at a later date because they don't meet our requirements to be so?
Bob Yale, please feel free to jump in if you'd like. But in the past, we've had some planned unit developments request that the city take on this infrastructure that that originally was private, and then they're wanting the city to take it on to help with the maintenance. It does not meet our standards, so it would be considered substandard. In that case, Public Works or engineering may require that it be brought up to code in order for the city to take it on. There could be some additional considerations by city council before deciding whether or not the city wants to do that and take on that responsibility. Bob, did I miss anything?
Oh, Katie, you hit it pretty well. The only thing I'll add to that is that to enable them to narrow up streets and not install sidewalk on both sides usually results in a right-of-way that is less than city standard. And then it makes it, in some cases, virtually impossible to add some of those features at a later time to meet our standards. The space is just not there.
So when we got those requests in the past, did that happen, or I mean, this is a new topic to me. I don't know that we've ever talked about this before. Did we actually allow those streets to become public streets or part of the city infrastructure we're maintaining?
It does come up from time to time. Sometimes they come in waves, and sometimes there's long periods of time between discussions. But to the best of my recollection, there's nothing in the near past history that we've accepted. One thing or another, whether it's the right-of-way width, whether it's the pavement structure, whether it's the condition of the utilities under the streets, have prohibited us from accepting those at that time. I may be overlooking something, but my recollection is not recently have we taken anything over.
Okay. I mean, I'm just thinking that I'm okay with thinking outside of the box and trying new ideas, but I just don't want to be on the hook for future maintenance of things that were not built. We have regulations and ordinances to build things a certain way for very good reasons. And if I don't want to be put a future council in a position where they've got to accept something that was not built to those codes. So thank you for answering those questions.
And thank you, Jamie, because that's actually one of the general questions. Actually, 2 city managers ago, we were quite concerned about this would have gone back to 2013 and 14, many of the PUDs that the city taxpayers were on the hook for. So, Councilmember Boland.
Since this is in my ward, I would like to make a motion to accept, but I don't know how to put this. I do not want sidewalks on both sides. I respect the citizens' request, but there is a cul-de-sac, a new cul-de-sac that will be put in, and I think it would be valuable to have a sidewalk on one side. So this would be a totally new amendment. Is that possible?
Anything's possible. I just want to, do we have any, but Donna, do we have any evidence that, we did have a comment that there, anecdotally, that there were some citizens who didn't want sidewalks on both sides. Do we have any evidence to that? Do you know?
I believe there was an email. Katie, was there an email sent to the Planning Commission?
Katie, thank you.
The Planning Commission received an email, but it was not about the sidewalks. It was about construction of the construction entrance and the location of that.
Okay. All right. So, but okay, let me go back to Councilmember Boland. You're making a motion to approve as presented, but not to require sidewalks on both sides, but to require some sidewalks on the cul-de-sac.
Let Jeff, Jeff has his hand up, so let him comment.
Jeff Craybill?
Jurgens.
Oh, I see Jeff
Mr.
Craybill.
Jurgens. Mr. Jurgens.
Do you have your hand up, Jeff? Okay,
I
Jeff,
do.
go ahead.
All right.
I'll turn to you.
No, I think that Councilwoman Boland is actually making the recommendation motion that's in the council memo. And Katie can correct me if I'm wrong, but the motion that's the staff recommendation in the packet is just to approve with just the one sidewalk.
Right.
So the motion can just be as staff recommended. Is that correct, Katie? I think she's shaking her head.
It's a little different because the preliminary plan does not show sidewalk going north on the cul-de-sac.
I know.
So Alderperson Boland's amendment is a little bit different, Jeff, but I think what you're saying, one way to approach it might be to adopt the proposed amendment, the first ordinance with a minor change to include sidewalk on the winding way cul-de-sac heading north.
Yes.
Is that what you intended, Councilmember Boland?
Yes, I want to accept as presented by staff with the addition of a sidewalk on the cul-de-sac to connect that loop, that dark colored loop that's
Gotcha.
going to be put in place.
We have a couple people who want to speak, but before I go to people who want to speak, let me ask if there is a second to your motion.
I'll second.
Second by Councilmember Painter. And I'm going to go to Councilmember Bray and then Councilmember Craybill.
So I'm in support of this motion as amended by my colleague, Councilmember Boland.
Okay, thank you. So council member, let's see, Craybill and Emig and then Bolin.
Thank you, Mayor. Katie, had a couple of follow-up questions. In looking at the comprehensive plan, there was concern presented about sprawl and how some of the developments like the Grove and Fox Creek represented that sprawl. And I saw a number in the comprehensive plan of operational expenses annually to maintain the south, I said generally southwest, of over $500,000. So even though we won't be taking over the private streets, there will be public improvements made by the developer that the city will eventually have to maintain at a later date. Is that accurate?
That's correct.
Okay. And then also when the developer talked about the target market, I think he was referencing the elderly and the disabled. When we talk about access to bus service, there's really is no bus stop that's close. The closest one I saw was on 6 Points Road. Would that be accurate?
I believe so. I don't think Connect Transit operates near the village.
Okay. That's all I had. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Let's see, Councilmember, well, actually, because I'm going to use the decision rule that we'll start with people who have not spoken yet, and then I'll come back to Councilmember Bolin, who's obviously this is her ward. So Councilmember Emig, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. I do have one more question.
Go ahead.
As well, but I'm wondering if, Katie, you can describe why the sidewalk was suggested in this fashion. And then I have a follow-up comment and then I'm done.
So the conversation at the Planning Commission, the motion was made by one of our commissioners, and it was to be consistent with the kind of the general philosophy that they have applied throughout the rest of the city, where we typically would have sidewalk on both sides of the street. It was not part of our staff's initial recommendation because there's not, the sidewalks don't connect to anything outside of the subdivision. So staff was recommending just approval as it was presented. But I think the Planning Commission's philosophy was that, you know, typically we want to encourage accessibility and walkability throughout our neighborhoods.
Thank you.
Katie, I wonder if I could follow up on that, but it is possible that, right, if this goes, if there's a next phase of development, that the sidewalks would connect to someplace, or is that not true?
It is, I suppose it is possible. We can pull up the plan again, or I can share my screen if that's easier to show you the preliminary plan. The way, thank you. So, Mayor Renner, this is the development here. You know, it's pretty insulated, and there's not a lot of connectivity outside to a future street. So the sidewalks, you know, would eventually connect out to the main road, and then that would connect to something else. But inside the neighborhood itself, because of the way it's designed, it's pretty compact and.
But if we had sidewalks on both sides, would that improve connectivity or not?
The dark here is the current sidewalk on one side. So this road, I'm sorry, you can't see my mouse. Barkway Court, the first cul-de-sac on the north side, has already been built. Misty Lane, which is the second cul-de-sac on the south side and where the new addition is proposed, is partially built. And so you can see the dark line south of that cul-de-sac, and it connects around right now. The The additional sidewalk would run on Misty Lane and run on the north side and then run up to the cul-de-sac that Alderperson Bolin was describing earlier, and then come around and then go down and then back out to the main road. So it kind of circles around the perimeter of those roads.
Okay, thank you. Let's see. I believe Councilmember Carrillo, who has not spoken yet on this, was next, and then Donna Bolin.
Yeah,
Jen, can you hear me? I'm sorry.
thank you. Yes, I'd just like a clarification on the motion and who's proposing what. So, Katie, is it the case the recommended motion is what staff originally put forward, and then the alternative motion is what the planning commission recommended above that? Do I have that half right?
Yes, that's
Okay.
how it's in your packet.
And then Alderwoman Bolin is proposing that we go with the original staff recommendation and not what the planning commission recommended. Is that accurate?
Yes.
Please correct me. Yeah, okay.
Yes, it is.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
Okay. I'm having difficulty here because I can't see. Oh, there we go. Thank you. Councilmember Bolin, and then Matthew.
Jeff, do you have something to say?
Well, I thought that you said that the motion was the staff recommendation, but with including a sidewalk on the cul-de-sac to connect the loop. So it's the staff recommendation, but a little twist on
Plus,
that, correct?
right.
Yes, okay.
Staff
Just to clarify-
recommendation plus the cul-de-sac.
Okay. Councilmember Matthew, then?
Well, I'm not done.
Oh, I thought you were done. I thought you were.
No,
Sorry,
no,
go ahead.
I wanted Jeff Jurgens to speak since his hand was up. Anyway, I asked staff a lot of questions, and I'm very thankful for all the hard work they put in. To Julie's comment, the HOA would have to provide any additional sidewalks that are not there from the first few additions. So they would have to come up with the money to do that. And the same with a street extension that would go to Rutherford, which is one of the main streets in the adjacent neighborhood. I believe it's Pepper Ridge. So any additional building of infrastructure other than sewers is going to be the responsibility of the HOA once this development is complete by Mr. Fetter. And regarding Jeff's comment, Jeff Cravel's comment, yes, they're single-story homes that, again, are not accessible with sidewalks as far as walkability. And so the developer will put in that loop, and then I request the cul-de-sac. But again, like I said, the homeowners association will be responsible for any additional sidewalk improvement. And there was also a concern about fiscal impact. And again, Jeff Crable brought that up, and I went back to the comprehensive plan, and just briefly, I want to give an overview. This was established 30 years ago. The land use is predominantly residential. Approximately 50% is tax exempt. There's a small amount of industrial. There are many edge streets, city-owned streets outside the city limits. The city invested nearly $10 million to sewer the area, to serve approximately 4,000 acres of residential land with 4 units per acre, serving 56,000 persons. The area developed as of 2013 is about 300 acres and has a population of approximately 3,600 people. So it's really not developed. It's about 16% developed. And the fiscal impact, according to the comp plan, is a negative $450,000 per acre. So overall, residential neighborhoods throughout the whole community are zero as far as the fiscal, the expense and the tax revenue is equal, but in this particular location, it is not. So there's a lot of room for development and hopefully commercial development, not in Fox Creek, but in Ward 2. And
I'm going to have to pause here because we are so far over budget. I need to get a motion to continue our discussion. This has been like 20 some minutes and it's not 5. So at this point, can we continue this then for, let's say, another 10 minutes and just wrap this up? Is there a motion to that effect?
I'll make a
So
motion to
moved.
continue.
Okay, moved by Councilmember Matthew, second by Councilmember Bray. Madam Clerk, would you call the roll?
Councilmember Matthew,
Yes.
Councilmember Bolin,
yes,
Councilmember Milawambwe,
Yes.
Councilmember Emig,
Yes.
Councilmember Painter,
Yes.
Councilmember Creel,
Yes.
Councilmember Black,
No.
Councilmember Crable,
Yes.
Councilmember Bray,
Yes.
Okay, motion carries. 1 nay to announce, Madam Clerk.
Councilmember Black.
Okay, Councilmember Bolin, you still have the floor, and then we're going to go to Matthew and Carrillo.
the only other thing I had to say is that with my strong towns philosophy, this is an example of how growth is at the expense of building wealth for the community. And I just would like that to take that into consideration. Infill is very important. Thank you. That's it.
Councilmember Matthew and then Carrillo.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, Katie, and Melissa, if she's still on, or whoever, that this is I'm inclined to support this because it's in Donna's ward, but I think that we need to change our regulations around plan unit development for the future to never allow streets to go in with no sidewalks on either side, even if it's in a plan unit development, because this is framed as some senior living, but it also is marketed as family living. And I just see kids walking in the street through the snow to get to Pepper Ridge and things like that. So, this development is already, we're trying to retcon in something a little bit here, but in the future, we should never allow any development to happen where there's not sidewalks on at least one side of the street. And I'd like to see staff bring something forward so we can pass that, so it's not an issue. Shouldn't even be a topic for the future.
Great. Well, thank you, Councilmember Matthew. And just also to clarify on that, it's also not just, a lot of the expense to taxpayers throughout the city for PUDs going back to the late 80s, 90s has been quite substantial, regardless of whether or not there was any kind of sidewalk or not. And so anyway, yeah, there definitely are potential costs and effects on the entire community. I'm glad everybody's talking about that. Councilmember Carrillo.
I agree with Councilmember Matthew. And then just a quick question for Councilmember Bolin. Can you just help me understand why you prefer the first motion as opposed to the alternative motion? So why are you not supportive of sidewalks on both sides?
Well, I live out there and I did my due diligence and I'm familiar with the neighborhood and I walk the neighborhood and the roads are narrow. The front yards are very narrow. If you put a sidewalk in, there will be no front yard. They do, like the developer said, lead to nowhere. So I don't see the purpose of having sidewalks on both sides, but I do see the safety issue of having sidewalks to get off the street. Now, if all you have to do is cross a narrow street to get to the sidewalk across from where you live, that's much safer than walking down the street. And again, the original part of the development does not have any sidewalk. And the homeowners are going to have to be responsible for putting those sidewalks in. And if the requirement is to have sidewalks on both sides, then those homeowners are going to have to put that in at their expense. So I have experience living in a homeowners association, and believe me, it's not a whole lot of fun. So that's why I recommend that I did that.
Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay, at this point, we have a motion on the floor and a second. And again, this is a modification, slight modification of the staff's recommendation as opposed to requiring sidewalks on both sides. And Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Councilmember Matthey,
Yes.
Councilmember Bolin,
Yes.
Councilmember Millawamble,
Yes.
Councilmember Emig,
Yes.
Councilmember Painter,
Yes.
Councilmember Carrillo,
Yes.
Councilmember Black,
Yes.
Councilmember Crable,
Yes.
Councilmember Bray.
Yes.
Motion carries. Anything to announce, Madam Clerk? At this point, then, we move to the next item, which is consideration and action on an ordinance approving the final plat. So this is actually implementing this, and I'm going to turn it over to Katie Simpson.
Thank you, Mayor Renner. This is exactly like you described. You just approved a concept plan, and now you would be approving the actual subdivision of 3 acres, which would result in 15 new units. Go ahead, Jeff. I don't have anything to add.
Whoa. Okay, well, Jeff, I'm not seeing, when you're having your hand up, I'm not seeing it for some reason.
Sorry, I'm too quick.
Video.
Okay.
He is putting up a physical hand rather than pushing the button.
He is. Oh, okay.
Sorry.
Okay, Jeff, did you want to say something?
No, I was just going to say, when this is approved, since you did a slight modification to the plan in 9A, the motion to approve 9B will need to also include that slight modification.
Okay. All right. Any comments or questions? At this point, is there a motion to approve this consistent with the modifications that were passed under 9A?
I will make that motion.
Moved by Councilmember Bolin. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Black. Any further discussion on this? Seeing none? Madam Clerk? Oh, I'm sorry. Councilmember Bolin, did you want to say something else?
Yeah, I'm going to make a comment that is kind of difficult for me in a way. For future reference, and this goes for anyone, I place a very high value on honesty and integrity. And I look very, very unfavorably on someone who gives false testimony under oath.
Okay, wait,
It is best to simply answer, I don't know, but I will find out.
Okay, are you?
Thank you.
Are you referring to the Planning Commission?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. At this point, let's call the roll, Madam Clerk.
Councilmember Matthey,
Yes.
Councilmember Bolin,
Yes.
Councilmember Millawamble,
Yes.
Councilmember Emig,
Yes.
Councilmember Painter,
Yes.
Councilmember Carrillo,
Yes.
Councilmember Black,
Yes.
Councilmember Crable,
Yes.
Councilmember Bray.
Yes.
No nays to announce, Madam Clerk. Motion carries. Thank you very much. We'll move on to item 9C. Consideration and action on an ordinance amending the city code to create the Department of Economic and Community Development within the city. And I'm going to turn this over to Mr. Gleason. Then we have about a 10-minute council discussion. Mr. Gleason.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Extremely excited about this item that's before council tonight. And it's something that we've talked about over the past handful of months. And can you still hear me? Okay. I had some background noise, sorry. And we would have actually have brought this in front of council earlier this year, springtime, but COVID occurred. Bob Mart, the Community Development Director, had tendered his retirement letter that would have been effective April 30th. I reached out, asked him to rescind that, change it, and we've got a new date of September 30th, trying to get beyond COVID. But really the reasons behind combining these two departments, they're so critical for an atmosphere, an attitude, can-do attitude that we have between economic development and community development, and an opportunity to create a one-stop shop. So whether it's a resident trying to do something new or has questions, the two overlap in many cases. Whether it's an existing business that's considering expanding or a new business opportunity, these two go hand in hand. And I'm very fortunate that I've got the leader with the approval tonight already in place. It's Melissa Hahn as the Economic Development Director, will be in charge of both departments if approved effective September 1st. There is no real financial impact, additional cost or a reduction in cost. This truly is about efficiency. We have an opportunity, we believe, with some of the existing employees in both the departments to cross-train or expand the duties that they currently perform. And it's an opportunity that looking forward to council approval. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Do we have any comments by members of the council? Comments, questions, motion at this point?
Move we approve as presented.
Is there a second?
Second.
Councilmember Black's motion, seconded by Councilmember Bray. Any further discussion? Again, I just want to say, Tim, thank you so much. Thank you to Melissa. We really appreciate this. This is a one-stop shop. Is something we've talked about for a long time, and we've certainly made progress in that regard, but this really, really helps. Thank you for your leadership. At this point, Madam Clerk, would you call the roll?
I'd love to. Councilmember Mappy?
Yes.
Councilmember Bolin?
Yes.
Councilmember Milowambwe?
Yes.
Councilmember Emig?
Yes.
Councilmember Painter?
Yes.
Councilmember Carrillo?
Yes.
Councilmember Black?
Yes.
Councilmember Crable?
Yes.
Councilmember Bray?
Yes.
Okay, motion carries. Thank you so much. We're going to move on to consideration and potential action regarding Ordinance 2020-18, declaring a local emergency due to the COVID crisis. And I'm going to turn this over to Mr. Gleason for about 5 minutes and then a brief council discussion or questions. Mr. Gleason.
Thank you, Mayor. No recommended updates to the emergency order.
Okay. Questions of Mr. Gleason? Council members? Seeing none, we're going to go ahead and go to the city manager's discussion. Once again, Mr. Gleason.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. I actually do have a handful of items promised to be brief. The first one is, if you would, Phil, pull up the slides. And since it's 2020, we're going to keep talking about this until the day it ends, and that's for a few months now with the extension. Very important that friends, family, neighbors, let's get the word out. We have very good numbers so far, but we can improve on those and need to. It's that important to the community and region. Next slide.
Is that dude getting stabbed by a cactus? What is he doing down there?
We'll answer that in due time.
And then next item, this Saturday, downtown Bloomington Farmers Market, 7:30 to noon. They've been well attended. And again, they're in the downtown again, and look forward to participation from the community. Thanks, Phil. I've got a couple of other items, Mayor. With the storms that passed through this afternoon, just wanted to provide an update, pretty quick and ferocious, but we fared pretty well as a community. Fire department, police department, public works crews were busy. Probably have public works crews still out there cleaning up some power outages. But where we were hit the hardest was up north at Lake Bloomington, the water treatment plant. We've lost power functioning, extremely well, if not at 100%, very close to by generator. And Ameren obviously is hard at it for the community. The next item that I wanted to share is that Jack McQueen is a civilian employee at the Bloomington Police Department. He's in charge of the intelligence unit and has been employed there since 1994. Chief Dan Donath last week presented him with the Chief's Award. It's an extremely prestigious award for employees of the police department. And it's truly on the plaque. It's the longest description I've ever seen on a plaque in my life. but Chief Donut is very proud of the intelligence unit and Jack McQueen, and very much appreciates all that he's done. He describes Jack as a trusted confidant to every chief that has been in place since 1994. Jack's not going anywhere. It's just an award that Chief Donuth wanted to present, and I wanted to share that with the community. Next item, and he's not on the call tonight, but Deputy City Manager Billy Tyus. The association that governs us at the international level is the International City Managers Association. Then there's state organizations. But Billy, for the past couple of years, has been pursuing his credentialed manager certification. It's a pretty heavy lift to complete this process. And it's one that Billy last month, a couple of weeks ago, received his credentialed manager designation from ICMA. There's an annual renewal. It's something that I'm a credentialed manager, and very proud of Billy achieving that. And the community now has 2 credentialed city managers. Next item, did a community video, my second one on Friday, and just hit some topics that were in the news, were of value to the community. The mayor does those. He's better suited to do those, but I have had some requests to provide updates, especially during COVID. So I did my second one on Friday. So now that it's official and will take effect on September 1st, congrats to Melissa. She is sharp. She is an excellent employee. When I first came into the organization, she was the assistant to the city manager, knew that she was underutilized, and stepped up March of 2019 and fulfilled the duties of the newly created Economic Development Department. And then with the action of council tonight, effective September 1st, those 2 departments will merge, and she'll be the director of that department as well. Last one, Chief Dan Donuth. I think the community is aware that he's announced his retirement that will take effect on September 1st. Wanted to share next steps. I've talked about it, but I want to talk about it again under this opportunity, or take this opportunity real quick. Greg Scott is one of the assistant chiefs over at the police department. He's going to be named the interim police chief. I'm not going to bounce back and forth like I did last year with the assistant chief serving a period of time as an interim, because I am not going to recruit or make any selection until the new year. Fourth quarter is a tough recruitment period, made tougher with COVID. And this is too critical of a position that I'm going to wait. So made that longer term decision with Assistant Chief Greg Scott will serve through the interim as the police chief. I plan a recruitment very similar to what I did last year, and for the same reasons. One, it's one that I think that we can take care of this internally. It is a national search is what I expect. It's cost savings of approximately $25,000 if we do it in-house versus hiring a consultant. And I'm confident that we can make the appropriate selection when that time comes. I've got great resources in this community, just like last year. They can participate on my recruitment team. And those that'll be asked to participate are ones that have been involved in past commitment to police and community relations. When I talk about the same reasons, the recruitment process, what I'm looking for in a police chief will be very similar to what I was looking for last year. It's because a lot of those situations last year are similar to what we're facing now in law enforcement. There's obviously been some community and national events that have occurred. But still, last year, this year, you're looking for that strong leader, someone that can lead those men and women in the Bloomington Police Department that oftentimes feel like their backs are up against the wall or the community is against them. But also at the same time, that very same strong leader and a police chief serves the community, has the ability to sympathize and empathize with the community that desires more. So strong communication is very important, and rest assured we'll find that candidate. But the search is not going to take place until after the first of the year. Obviously, more to come, but wanted to share that even though council was aware of this, I really wanted to share this update with the community. So, Mayor, with that said, that's all I've got. Thank you very much.
Great. Thank you very much, Mr. Gleason. And under Mayor's comments, I just wanted to urge all of us to still stay vigilant. We don't want COVID to get worse. We don't want to slide backwards. That would really be terrible and devastating for our community and perhaps our region. So try to keep practicing social distancing and all those good things. But in addition to that, I want to congratulate both Melissa for her promotion, if you will, or rearrangement or reorganization, as well as Billy Tyus for being a credential manager from the ICMA. Anyway, in addition to that, I want to wish Chief Donath the best, as well as concur with our city manager, and that is, I'm glad Jack McQueen is going nowhere and staying with us. But at this point, I see at least one council member, Councilmember Matthey, under aldermanic comments before we go into executive session.
Thanks, Mayor. I just wanted to give a shout out to the public works guys who I have been listening to, and I'm still listening to, taking care of the 150-foot tree that's leaning on my neighbor's house, or at least it was leaning on their house when we started this meeting. Might not be anymore because it sounds like they've been at it for at least the last hour trying to take care of it. Just a reminder that everyone should assume that all wires are deadly if they're on the ground. Never touch one, even if you think you know what it is. It could be shorted somewhere else up on a pole a block away from you that you don't know. So assume all wires are deadly and don't touch them. And that's it.
Thank you very much. We're going to go in order of what I see here. Councilmember Bolin.
Yeah, I would like to thank Mr. and Mrs. Thompson for donating land so that Luce Road construction can move forward. They donated easement, which saves the city money, and thank you very much. And
Councilmember Bolin.
He's frozen.
Yeah, I think she's frozen.
Donna, can you hear us? Donna.
She probably has a bad connection at this point.
Oh, it might. Is that what it might
She
be?
might have to log back in again.
Donna, if you can hear us, you might need to log back in. Okay, if you can, I'll save your spot if you can come back on. We're going to go in order here. Councilmember Craybill, Emig, Bray, and Millawamboy. Councilmember Craybill.
All right, there we go. Thank you. Yeah, so I wanted to thank Chief Donath and John Furman. There were about 20 people on my town hall last Monday, and they asked the chief about an hour's worth of questions, and it was a good discussion. So I appreciate that, and thanks for the chief's service for 26 years. Congrats also to Billy and Melissa. And I was visiting my family in Indiana this week, and just to compare testing rates, positivity rates, it's good in McLean County, 2%. It was 10% where I was. So we're doing good, but we need to maintain what we're doing. That's it. Thanks.
Thank you. Councilmember Bolin, since you're back on, and
my power went out.
Oh,
just for a second. Just for a second. Oh, the only other thing I had to say is that there's nice progress being made on that housing development on Four Seasons. So those are the affordable housing units that are going into place. So I'm glad to see that happening too. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Emig, Bray, and Millawamwe. Emig.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. I also congratulations to our new merged Community and Economic Development Office. Congrats to Melissa et al. I think this is definitely the right move. And I too want to thank Chief Donis for his service. In terms of the development at Fox Creek, I think we did the right thing today to push that forward, to close that that final step of the process. But looking forward to future development projects, just to be sure that we're hewing as close as possible to the comprehensive plan and philosophy of really development as close to the core as possible. And finally, I just want to give a shout out to our local K-12 schools. They had a hard decision to make, but I think they made the right decision. And you know, it's going to be, we have a long road ahead of us, but I was glad to see that our community overall is prioritizing what we need to do to be safe. Please continue to be vigilant. Masks are cool. They're fashionable. Wear them. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Bray and Millawamwe. Kim.
Thank you, Mayor. And again, I just want to shout out to Melissa Hahn. Congratulations. I know you'll do great things and keep going. Congratulations to Billy. What a talent. Tim, thank you for bringing him to us. And again, we're just looking forward to continued success in working with Billy Tyus. And I want to thank Chief Donath. It's sad that we see him go, but you know, this dedicated service and his faithfulness to this community. Thank you, Chief. And what an example you've set for us as we move forward and try to continue in creating sense of community at all levels in our city. And I just want to say here that I'm supportive of these next steps that you've set out, City Manager Gleason. I appreciate that, frankly, the due diligence you're bringing to this, getting a hold of it, the front side, the next steps you've outlined. That way there's a lot of certainty in this community that we're taking the time we need, yet we're also managing our budget and costs in our search to meet the challenges ahead. And I just want to thank you again for the diligence. And finally, I want to say thank you to all of our staff, city employees, for the long-awaited, soon-to-be lit light at Keaton, or maybe it was lit today, I'm not sure, the new traffic light at Keaton Place, at Keaton Road and GE Road. That is such an improvement. And I want to say to my colleagues, thank you for support on that. And that's fine. That project is finally done. I really do believe this is one of those things where you do something so nothing bad happens later. And I really believe that this particular stoplight is going to stop any significant traffic accidents at what is becoming a very busy intersection with no stop light. So thank you. That is now completed. That's all.
Thank you. Councilman Millawamwe, last but not least.
Thank you. And my comments are almost to the word the same as Kim's comments. But I want to say congratulations to Melissa, Billy, and Jack McQueen on their achievements. But I also want to thank Chief Donath for his service to the city and you know to the community. I know he's done some really good things, and he also had other ideas that he was looking forward to implementing. But I do understand sometimes one has to you know, look at you know, their own personal concerns and things that they need to address in order to and make the best decision, the decision that's best for them. I also wanted to say, Tim, just to kind of affirm the decision that you've made to be very deliberate about the position and the search, because I think it is one that is going to be, I mean, it's obvious that it's a very critical position, even more so in the current times. So I do think we really need to take our time and to do it right as opposed to rushing into it. So thank you very much.
Thank you. At this point, we're going to, I want to ask for a motion to go into executive session to cite under item 13, the 13A review of the minutes, section 2 of C21 5 LCS 120, and then under 13B personnel section C2C 1 5 ILCS 120. Is there a motion to go into executive session to deal with these two sets of items?
So moved.
Moved by Councilmember Miller-Wamboy, second by Councilmember Craybill. At this point,
And Terry, do we need to note that we are only action we're going to take when we come back is that we're going to adjourn? That's the jargon, sorry. Yeah.
After this, assuming this passes, but yes, yeah.
And Mayor?
Yeah.
And just as a little bit more detail on the personnel item, it's just to discuss performance. So just wanted, they like us to be a little bit more detailed on those explanations sometimes.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Madam Clerk, would you call the roll?
Yes. Councilmember Mathey,
Yes.
Councilmember Bolin,
Yes.
Councilmember Miller-Wamboy,
Yes.
Councilmember Emig,
Yes.
Councilmember Painter,
Yes.
Councilmember Correa,
Yes.
Councilmember Black,
Yes.
Councilmember Crable,
Yes.
Councilmember Bray.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Motion carries, no nays to announce. And just so everybody knows, as we go into executive session, as Councilmember Black had mentioned, we are not going to do anything other than adjourn. So you're certainly welcome to hang on to see that riveting motion at the very end. But just to let you know, we're not going to be doing anything substantive pursuant to the agenda that is presented to the public. So at this point, Councilmember Carrillo, did you have a question?
Yeah, so then does that mean we are gonna hop off this Zoom line, hop on the other Zoom line, and then do we have to hop back on this Zoom line, or?
No, I think
Yeah.
it does.
Actually, Mayor, sorry if I could, I was
yes.
going to try to speak next. So what we're going to do is you guys will actually hang up off of the line that you're currently on right now. If you check your email during this meeting, there has been an email sent to you by Phil Melder, and it has a link for you to go into a new Zoom meeting. We'll go into that for executive session. It'll be recorded separately. And then when we get in there, you'll get another email to direct you back to this meeting. So we've tried to simplify it, but it is our first time. So just ask for your patience.
Thank
So
you.
go ahead and hang up and check your email. We'll see you back on the other side.
Okay, and then we're going to get another one, just to clarify that for the record. We're going to get another email to come back to adjourn.
You got it.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you. Oh, for crying out loud. I can't get out of this.
I thought I was going to be the first one back on, but Scott beat me.
Very fast. I was ready to click.
It's been a while.
The new Star Trek Below Decks cartoon on CBS All Access was hilarious.
I gotta watch it.
It's good, huh? Okay.
I've been rediscovering my love of Star Trek. I've been back on my TNG.
Oh yeah, TNG.
Engage.
Good stuff. Engage.
I try to be Picard, but I'm probably more of a Captain Kirk.
Which one?
No. Don't do that to yourself.
Maybe I'm a little bit Captain Cisco. I don't know.
You guys are so unabashedly nerdy. It's a good thing you all are already married.
It's true.
Yes.
Kelly knew who she was marrying.
I made no secret of who I am. I was Spock for like 4 years in a row.
I'm a daily surprise. I don't know what's going on with you guys. It's a way to keep it interesting.
So it looks like we're missing Mboka and the mayor at this point.
Two key people.
That is right.
Awesome.
And the mayor just texted and said he doesn't have the email. I can't find it. Ask Mboka to adjourn, please. So we'll.
Oh my God.
Jeff, in this case, Jeff Jurgens, do we have to appoint a temporary chair to adjourn this meeting?
Yes.
Or are we just stuck here forever?
We have to sleep here. Yes. No, I think we can appoint it. I'm gonna forward the email to Terry, and I'll tell you what, I'm gonna get Mboka on the phone and he can do the motion. How about that?
Wonderful.
This is starting to feel like that play no exit.
You're live on YouTube, and all I need you to do is ask for a motion to go back into regular session. Oh, there's the mayor. Never mind.
Yeah, Terry.
He's here. He's here. Okay. All right.
Terry,
Mayor, you're on mute.
Okay, is there a motion for us to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Matthew and Carrillo, all in favor signify by saying aye.
And we're also returning to
Aye.
open session. Return to open session and
Return
adjourn.
to open session.
Return to open session and adjourn. Okay.
We're not done yet.
We're done.
We're done. We're good. Thank
Oh,
you.
never mind.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Have a nice
Bye.
night.
All right.
Peace out, everybody.